How you doing?
Hi.
So can you say and spell your name for me?
My name is Seneca White, Senecawhite.
So how would you define mental health?
I would say mental health is primarily taking care of yourself, whether that be going, to counseling, whether that may be talking to your friends or family. I think it's just all about self-love and determining whether or not what you would sacrifice enough so you can be healthy on the inside and out.
What are some things you think people can do to like maintain good mental health?
I think some things that people can do, just hang out with your friends or family, or finding that even that one person that you know that you can rely on to communicate with you about whatever you're going through. On top of that, exercising, always good and get into that healthy mindset, and eating right, just staying positive also.
Do you think people with mental health issues are like treated differently?
Um, that's a good question. I think when you have a mental health issue, I think that you are treated how you want to be. So say if you tell someone, oh, I have this problem, I feel like someone will treat you differently. But if you don't say that you are struggling with an issue of mental health, that will treat you the same, like they never knew that you had an issue. So I think they treat you on how you want. It's kind of like you tell somebody, I have this type of disorder, or I have this type of function that's going on with me. And they'll probably change how they communicate with you or how they go about you.
Do you think schools and like workplaces should have like mental health days, and why?
I definitely do, especially with colleges and universities, even high schools, because the workload is really difficult sometimes. And if you are a part of clubs, that can be really stressful. And tests, all that type of stuff, I think you just need a breather sometimes. And I think they should have some type of day where it's just like a mental health stress day. I know here at Cabrini we have like a day where during finals they bring in dogs and stuff like that to kind of help you relieve and just not worry about a test, not worry about anything that you're going through. So I definitely think, schools or workplaces should definitely have mental health days.
Um, do you think they should be treated the same way as like vacation days or like maternity leave, or should they be categorized as something different?
Um, I feel like they should be categorized as their own thing because any mental health is not the same. So you cannot categorize something as, oh, if I am having this type of issue, let me go on a maternity leave. That's not the same. You can't categorize everything in one box. So I think it definitely needs to stay on its own because it's a very important thing to go through and just have its own little day.
And so, do you think there should be a certain number that you should mental health days you should be able to use in a year, or is it an infinite amount of number, or is there a certain cap?
I think it's an infinite number, just because if I say I'm fine today, doesn't mean I'm really fine at all. You know what I mean? That can just be a facade and a fake. So I think it should be an infinite amount of days where you are practicing your mental health. You're being healthy, because if you are not healthy, you can't work, you can't go to work, you can't do any task. So I think jobs and schools should really look into that more.
Do you think college students should make day-to-day changes that could positively... Okay, what are some ways you think college students can make changes to impact their mental health?
Definitely the simple things. Like if you're stuck in your dorm all day, go outside and take a walk. Go outside and look at the nature and just sitting quiet, because face it, college is really not quiet that much. You always hear noise, you always hear, classrooms going, you're on your phone. So just definitely taking a mental break from everything and your friends and your classrooms and all of that in your phone. So just doing simple things like going outside or walking around or just sleeping. That could be good.
Does mental health personally affect you in your day-to-day life?
It does. I try not to let it affect me in my day-to-day life. And I have certain techniques where if I'm feeling down or a certain way, then I may call a friend of mine who's gone through the same things as me, and we can kind of talk about that, and I can continue with my day. But it definitely does affect me, but I don't let it bring me down. So if I'm happy, sometimes it could switch. I can go from happy, and then I could go from like being sad, and I don't want to go my whole day being sad. So I kind of do something that I like doing in my spare time, whether that's writing poetry, whether that's watching a YouTube video that makes me laugh, just something that distracts me from, always thinking about my mental health issue.
And what is your mental health issue? You just said that's something that distracts you from your mental health issue. What exactly is your mental health issue?
Okay, well, a couple years back, I say when I was in high school, my friend committed suicide, and then from there, I went into a year of depression. And so I never got out my room, I never did anything like that. And so depression, and then on top of that, I'm a very shy person. So at times, I can be very I have a lot of like social anxiety. And not just the type where, no, I don't want to say my name, like the type where I worry about the craziest thing, like, oh my God, are they gonna like look at me, or like my palms get sweaty. So I definitely say a mixture of both depression and social anxiety. But with those two, I kind of learned to just try to not let it affect me day to day. Sometimes I may think about what happened to my friend, but then I think about, oh well, this is what I can do to help better people's lives and help talk about it. I think talking about it is another way to getting over any mental health issue. If you don't speak about it, how will somebody know what's happening to you? How will somebody know how to get over it? And how will somebody know how to deal with it? So having a group of people who have the same common issue as you is great, because you guys can talk about it. You guys can kind of help each other through it.
Do you have people where you can talk about your mental health issue with?
Yeah, I have my best friend who I've been friends with her since I was little. And she's gone through stuff herself, and so we kind of talk about that in our life experiences and how we kind of cross paths and how our issues cross paths. So we talk about that a lot. I talk to my mom a lot because we have the same issues going on, even though we're both different ages and both in different life paths. We both have struggled with depression in some sort of way. So I definitely have her, and then other family members that I can rely on.
Is there a specific story that you can think of in which mental health has taken a toll on you in your personal life? Or someone you know?
Yeah, well, one instance, a class that I was struggling with really bad, it was primarily because, like, I guess this whole week I was just thinking about my friend and what happened to her, and then it started affecting my grades, basically. So when you're struggling with a certain disorder or a certain issue, it can really take a toll on you personally and in your academics. So I started seeing myself really go downhill, and I didn't like that. But I wasn't focusing on school. I was focusing on something else, and it was really bothering me. But I got over it. I went to tutoring, and I got help. Another instance with my friend, we kind of talk every day about certain issues, and she confides in me, and I listen to her problems, and we kind of talk it out together. But it's not one single event that has, affected me with mental health.
Would you mind telling the story about how what happened with your friend?
Okay, so my friend, her name is Jessica. She was 13 or 14, I'm not really sure. And she was getting bullied really bad it was going on for months. She was getting bullied, and I didn't know. I knew something was happening, but she wouldn't tell me. And so basically she went home, and I guess her mom found her, and she had committed suicide in her room. And then her mom called me and let me know, and that kind of just took a toll on me, because I felt like, dang, like if I could have done something, if I could have talked to her more, if I could have known the situation, I could have prevented it from happening. So that really took a toll on me for a year, because I was depressed for a whole entire year, and I thought things were my fault. I thought I could stop it, but truth is, you can't stop things like that. You can only advocate for the better. So now I kind of am a big advocate on bullying and suicide and self-love and things like that, so that I don't want that to happen to another close friend of mine. I have a friend right now who, her self-esteem is not high, but it's not low. But I always try to bring her up and lift her up and say good positive things. I try in my life to try to be very positive so no one feels like they're worth nothing. I feel like that's the worst feeling, to feel like you're worth nothing, that you will take your own life. So with me, that's been my battle. I have to carry that for life, to know that a friend of mine committed suicide and, I couldn't do anything to stop it.
Can you describe the environment you grew up in?
The environment I grew up in, it was a lot of kids. It was played around a lot. It was a very urban neighborhood, and it had parks all around. It was a very friendly neighborhood. It didn't really have any animosity against it. It was very calm and chill, and at that time everybody loved going outside, whether that's you have a cookout or something or an event. You just love going outside and being with one another, and if someone else had a problem, then a neighbor would be a helping hand, or you would have somebody to fall back on and talk to or talk with. So I had a very good friendly neighborhood when I was growing up. I'm sure it's different now though.
Do you think your circumstances growing up and where you grew up has an effect on your mental health?
Yeah.
Maybe family life or something like that?
Yeah, I think different circumstances that I've been faced with as far as family wise definitely played a part in who I am today. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm not ashamed of the problems and issues that I have. But definitely family, maybe financially probably had played a part in it. But yeah, I think when you're younger, you're not focused on things like that. You're focusing on school and your friends and playing. But when you get older and you start turning a teenager, you're like, oh wait, well this happened, or this wasn't there, or this person wasn't there, and that really takes a toll on you growing up. And then now in college, you're faced with all these issues and struggles and complications that you didn't know that you would face with being little.
How and when did you realize that your depression and social anxiety was a mental illness thing and not just a feeling that you grew out of or something?
Yeah, I definitely think that's a misconception. People think, oh, that's a phase, you grow out of that, or you're depressed. I think so many people throw that word around so much that it's just a mood, oh, I'm depressed. No, that's a real thing. That's a real illness. But maybe when I was freshman year of high school, when I went to a private religious high school, and it was all new. I didn't know anybody, and I was still struggling and battling with my depression. I would go to school every day with no friends. I would sit by myself and realize dang, I'm alone. There's no one to talk to me. No one even came up to me. I was always categorized as the nice person, but no one would sit with the nice person. You know what I mean? So every time I would come home from school, I had no activity other than technology, but really nothing to stimulate me, nothing to help me just be distracted from my depression. So I guess when I was about 17, I started to realize hey, this is not just a feeling, it's an actual thing that I'm going through, and I need someone to talk to.
Are you involved in any organizations that continue to expand your knowledge on mental health?
No, not as of right now. I would like to in the future. When I am finished my college career, I would love to be a part of some things and kind of be active. How they do marches and stands and things like that. I want to be as active as possible because I know how that can affect a lot of people. With just one voice, multiple voices that could help just a lot of people speak out or be comfortable enough to share their issues, because mental health is nothing that you should be ashamed of, even though that's the conception.
What are some stigmas and misconceptions about mental health that you want to talk about or express?
The big one is that, as you said, it's just a feeling that you go through. Mental health is just being depressed or having anxiety, something that just is a thing that you throw around. Oh, I have anxiety. That may be how you and your friend group may speak, but when going outside of your friend group and saying, oh, I have anxiety, you can't do that, because you have to realize there are actual people who have these actual illnesses and disorders and things like that. So I definitely think when people say, oh, this is how I'm feeling, when they're really not feeling that way. I think there should be other vocabulary put in place instead of just using those two words.
Do you have anything else would you like to add?
Just working on your mental health. Working on any mental health thing is a work in progress. It's not going to get fixed today. It's not going to be done in a week. It will take years and months, and I'm sure, and you'll get through that with your family. You'll get through that with your loved ones, and just your environment. I think people don't realize that the environment that they're in affects your mood. If you're somewhere where it's loud and rowdy, or there's a lot of friction, then you'll see your mood start to deteriorate. But if it's in a place or an environment where you like the people, where you like the environment, where you are good. And I think that should be advocated more. Being in good places and having good energies and synergies with people. I think people don't realize that being with someone who has a good vibe really, really affects your mental and really affects how you are as a person. So just having a good environment and good people around you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. White.
You're welcome.